So I will be moderating this first Discord chat today. I appreciate everybody in the community joining us so early on. I know a lot of stuff is still pretty unknown, but we appreciate everybody just on the journey with us. I'd give an introduction to Saga, but first let's just have everybody that's on the audience today just say who they are and a little bit about themselves. So we can start with Medemski.
I'm here with a group of team members, and we found the Saga project, and it found it to be very interesting, and reached out to Saga, and we're here to try and just help build the community. And so some of us have mod titles and things like that, but we're really excited to just help this community grow. In addition to myself, we have a Daddy, ours,
Hello.
Zoki, and bartender, and Stinson as well. Stinson's been one of our great contacts to help get in touch with Saga, and really been helping lead the way. So we're doing our best to help this community grow. And if you guys have any feedback or anything about suggestions, feel free to reach out.
That's awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, Rebecca, before I dive into what Saga is for everyone? Just give a quick overview.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, Joe. Hey, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I'm co-founder and CEO here at Saga. And as Joe said, we're incredibly appreciative of all of you for being our early community. And you're here when we are a vision and we're building, but obviously we don't have our network live yet. But we're really excited to hear all of your insights. Really inspired by your enthusiasm. It keeps us going on those long days, going through the work of building a project, and we hope to be able to pay you all back one day. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all the thoughtful questions and engagement so far. I guess a little bit about my background, so y'all get to know me a little better. So I have been in crypto for about 5 years now. Saga is my second crypto startup. My first one was SkuChain, where I was co-founder and COO, and that was more DeFi. So that focused on providing short-term liquidity to small, medium-sized businesses. Zaki Mannion was my co-founder in that company. And for those of you who are familiar with Cosmos, of course, you know Zaki. But that was a ton of fun. And I did that for about 4 years. And last year, transitioned away into an advisor role because I was starting to look at new opportunities. I've also always been involved in politics and policy, and I'll get into that a little more later. But before SkuChain, I was part of the early team and head of business development, head of Asia for an AI startup called Globality, which did AI-based procurement of international services. Within a year and a half, we got backed by SoftBank. And at that point, I was really interested in crypto. So I decided to leave and start my own thing. I started my career as a lawyer, actually. I still am a lawyer. But I was a corporate lawyer for about 6 years doing securities law, mergers and acquisitions, corporate governance, et cetera. And I never thought I would really use a lot of my legal skills again. I thought, okay, maybe I'll negotiate contracts or write contracts every now and then, but crypto has just been fascinating in terms of all the new legal innovation. So that's been a lot of fun. I mentioned earlier that I've always been involved in policy and politics. So I was part of the Clinton and Biden presidential campaigns, so 2016, 2020, both times as a policy advisor on technology, but also on foreign policy. So that's a little bit about me. Again, very excited to have you all here, and we're really here for you. I mean, we wouldn't be anywhere without our community. And that's something that we always remember every single day. So with that, let me turn it back to Joe.
Yeah, awesome, Rebecca. So just to give a quick overview of myself, I'm just a longtime cosmonaut, crypto, like Bitcoiner. Really fell in love with the vision of Cosmos with the multi-chain future and IBC. And ever since I started going down the Cosmos rabbit hole, I don't think there was really any looking back. I just grew in the community through Telegram chats, And really, that's how I got started. And I just got to know a bunch of the key people in the ecosystem, like Jack and Zuckymanian, etc., and ended up getting involved in a marketing DAO that raised, well, I guess not raised, they requested from the community. I think it was about $800,000 at the time, but ballooned into 3 million by the time we got to spend it. So yeah, that was my first DAO, and it's been crazy ever since. I worked on that, and it was really great to spread the awareness of Cosmos, and ended up getting a job with Tendermint and worked in Tendermint Ventures, helping lead the venture side of Tendermint. And then while there, the idea of Saga was born while we were all in Vegas in a meeting with everyone for the first time. And yeah, ever since then, it's kind of been the passion project of our division until recently, when Rebecca came on and everything just sped up a little bit, and we broke off into our own entity and rebranded from Saga Network to Saga, which I'm sure you guys have all seen. Yeah, so that's kind of how the journey so far. Do you want to add anything to that, Rebecca?
Oh,
Or
thanks,
I can keep
Joe.
going.
Yeah, sorry. No, thanks very much for that. Yeah, I mean that has been our journey so far. I'm very grateful to Tendermint for having incubated this project, for this particular project for a few months, but the Tendermint team for much longer than that. So that's been amazing to receive that kind of support and platform. But we did decide to rebrand from Sagan to Saga, and I promise everyone here that it was a much more complicated branding exercise than let's just drop the N. We went through quite an exercise with our branding agency, but we felt that this was a much better reflection of where we're taking the protocol and its emphasis on gaming and entertainment. Yeah, so we're excited to keep building this, to show you guys what we have, and to give you a chance to start building on it as well. So there are some questions in AMA about what's our timeline looking like, when's testnet, when's mainnet. So we'll answer those questions in more depth later, but the first milestone is the AlphaNet. So it's pre-DevNet, but this will be the first time that developers can actually start building, and the flow should look very similar between our different nets from the developer perspective. We'll get into this more, but a lot of the innovation is actually happening in the back end, particularly with our validator set, which it should not be visible to our developers and our application builders. But yeah, that's sort of where we're seeing this going over the next few months, and just excited to have you all along on the journey.
Yeah, it's awesome, Rebecca. I'm going to go into a little bit more of what the vision of Saga started as and where our vision is at now. So in the early days of Saga, it was marketed or envisioned as more of a canary network, which was started over in the Polkadot Kusama substrate ecosystem. And it's really just the idea of having a chain underneath a chain that have very similar architectures and designs. So it's just a very matching sub chain, where that was kind of where Saga Network's original vision was going towards. And then after doing some market analysis and talking to just our potential customers and people that we'd be working with, we decided to switch to something more akin to being able to spin, having Saga as a typical Cosmos chain, but the underlying chains that you're spinning up are just virtual machines. So those could be something like the EVM, so you could pretty much make your own Ethereum, or something like CosmWasm, so you could make your own Terra or Juno-like coding environment. Or really, we're hoping to add mini virtual machines as we go forward. So the benefits of this are the developers do not have to share block space with anyone else in the network. They reserve an amount of block space for their community, and this amount they reserve is variables, so they can add or subtract how much block space is reserved for them based upon customer demands. And this creates a way better environment for the users and for the developers to have very consistent gas fees and not having to fist fight with all the other applications and contracts on this monolithic network for block space. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good overview vision of where Saga is headed. Any comments, Rebecca?
No, Joe, thanks so much for clarifying that. And it is true. So when I arrived at the time Sagan, I was under the impression that the goal was to build a canary chain, and I think that in many ways that was the messaging that was used in November and October timeframe. And I come from a product background, so the startups that I've worked on so far have been focused on solving a key problem for a specific set of users through product. And so I sat back and asked, okay, what is the actual problem that we're trying to solve? And it is ultimately to allow developers to be able to get their own dedicated block space in the easiest manner possible. And I mean, that's another way of saying, how do we get developers onto their own Cosmos chains as quickly as possible? Because there are other protocols out there that profess to do sovereign chains and are similar in architecture and construction to the Cosmos SDK and the Tendermint core. But at the end of the day, Cosmos is really the protocol for dedicated chains and for interchain communication. So that was the problem. How do we get developers onto dedicated chains more easily? So in collaboration with the rest of our team, including our CTO, Jake McDorman, who's a distributed systems genius, we said, okay, what are the core issues that developers face when they are looking to do their own chain? Well, you have to get your own chain, which is a validator set. It is recruiting that set. It is maintaining that set. It's coordinating among that set, setting up governance, setting up token economics, setting up a security model that works. So it's a big lift for developers. And because it's been such a big lift, most developers don't want to deal with it, really. And they're content to go to monolithic chains. Now, for a certain kind of performance and expectation around gas fees and cost, a monolithic chain simply doesn't work. And those use cases were becoming more and more common. They were really cropping up in gaming and entertainment. To a certain extent, people have accepted issues in DeFi because the margins have been great so far, and these are, for the most part, sort of non-critical transactions. So congestion is not the end of the world. But even with DeFi, challenges are there, and people recognize that they're frustrating. So how do we allow these developers who want all the benefits of having their own chain, but are nevertheless forced to go onto monolithic chains? How do we get them onto their own chains? So that became the problem, and we decided to address it through a product. So it's a long way of saying that we are no longer focused on being a canary at all. The idea is to get developers as well as other layer one partners onto their own dedicated block space. And you can use it to essentially be a series of test nets in your development process. You can certainly use it that way. But the goal is to develop these dedicated chains that are production quality, secure, have a solid token economics model such that the projects stay on Saga long term. So that's the vision.
Awesome. So for now, I think I'm going to go through some of the AMA questions and just kind of go down in order roughly. based upon the ones that I did the little Saga mark next to. Afterwards, if we have time, we can open it up to anybody that wants to come up on stage and ask a live question. So let me flip over to, okay, I'll just start from the top. Are you planning to build an ambassador program? If so, when exactly, what criteria? So we have been looking into that. We've been recommended that by multiple people. Nothing is live in the works now to create one, but I'm pretty sure that is going to be on our socials roadmap to create some sort of ambassador program to help reward and incentivize the early community for just being here and supporting us. What is the roadmap in Q2, Q3 of Saga? So it's really hard to say on those timeframes. Just right now we're focusing on getting an alpha net out and getting just the vision working in practice, and then from there we'll see how we want to do test nets, main net launch, airdrops, all that stuff. But the first step is really to just get the alpha net working very well, and that could be Q2 or Q3. But it's really hard to say with software. I mean, like the Cosmos Atom Hub was delayed. I don't even know. It was 6 months. No, it was like 6 weeks for like a year. So anyway, that's just my way of saying software can be tricky. Any comments on those, Rebecca? Should I just keep going down the list?
Yeah. There's one thing I would note is that so for us, our philosophy of building is that we're very iterative, and I know everybody says that, but really we are very iterative. Our style is to ship, get feedback, ship again, get more feedback, ship again, as opposed to let's try to keep things sort of as like internal and perfect as possible and wait for the big reveal later, much later down the line. We'll delay our timelines just so that we can get to that big reveal. For us, I think it's really important to get the product in front of the market as much as possible, because only then will we really know whether it's actually useful to the people that we're trying to serve. So on that, testnet, devnet and testnet, we are projecting for later this year, maybe fall. Could slip a little bit to Q4, but we're really aiming for fall. And then mainnet by early next year. And our AlphaNet, we would like to get out to people as soon as possible. The AlphaNet is going to be sort of a smaller group to start with of some of our close partners. But having said that, I mean, we definitely want developers who are doing their own individual projects or smaller developer teams to be a part of that as well. So as we get closer to that, we will let you guys know sort of how we're going about revealing AlphaNet and instructions for testing out on AlphaNet. Yeah, that should be pretty exciting. And it really is meant to happen in the next couple of months. Software is tricky, absolutely, but we would like to start getting our product out there so that people can actually start using it. Only then are we going to get any real feedback.
Cool. Thanks, Rebecca. So I think that covers that topic fairly well. All right, the next one, the big question: will Saga be airdropped to Atom holders / voters? So here's a little tip of advice for everyone in the crypto ecosystem that may not be aware. Projects aren't exactly allowed, like legally, to talk about airdrops before they happen, and it's just a really bad idea to not only set expectations, but like tell that, like just say that you're going to give money out to people. With that said, I think there's a good chance for supporters of key Cosmos projects to be rewarded for their faith in the ecosystem. The amounts, the timing, the blah, 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 like totally unknown. And like, yeah, it's just, you can't really talk about it, but I think Saga's looking to reward people that believe in Cosmos and believe in the multi-chain future. So I guess just take that what it is. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. I have a question on synergy. Devs have developed their dApp on Evmos should be able to instantly develop a blockchain with Saga. Yeah, so that's part of our vision is that we want to be able to partner with not only. I'll read that question out louder. Sorry. Devs who have developed their dApp on Evmos should be able to instantly develop a blockchain with Saga? Yes, we want to be able to partner with both dApp developers as well as the Evmos team themselves. So we want the Evmos team to be able to economically shard their blockchain through Saga Network and get more block space that is operated by the Evmos token as gas. At the same time, we want somebody that's building on Evmos that's becoming super successful and taking up a large amount of the Evmos block space to be able to also economically shard themselves through Saga, partner with us, and get more block space for themselves, and have this network, this more block space operated by their token, their native token. So it's almost anyway. That's kind of the vision. We want to be able to partner with both. So the answer to that is yes. Would there be an incentivized testnet in the future? We kind of talked about this earlier. It's most likely going to be part of the roadmap to have incentivized testnet. Cosmos is really the innovator and pioneer on that front, and it's best practice to test a network in a live environment with incentives and rewards. But as far as timelines, all that stuff, who's the validator set, like how you get included in that validator set, like TBD fully. I don't know if Rebecca has any comments. I'll just keep going. If not...
Nope, Joe, you're doing great.
Cool. Hi there. What is the next focus for Saga? What can project participants do? Okay, so I think Rebecca kind of touched on this earlier. Our next focus is to really just get the AlphaNet out and get a version of the Saga network vision working in practice with a smaller validator set that are key players in the ecosystem, and get that tooling to a level where we feel comfortable letting anyone and everyone give their shot at running a node and taking part in the ecosystem. So that's from like the development side. From the community side, I think we're just going to keep going and trying to build this community out. Have engagements just like this, making posts, just trying to get everybody, just keep Saga on the top of everyone's mind, because we're hoping this is a game-changing project. So, and I think we talked about it earlier as far as the ambassador program. I think that it'll be in the works. It's going to happen most likely. So, cool. Next one. What is the difference between interchain security of Cosmos Hub and Saga? Okay, so this is a very good question. The more you kind of dig into what like shared security or cross-chain security is, it's just really additional block space provided by a set of validators or a network. So even like Ethereum provides like a shared security state to all of the applications that are running on Ethereum. So the idea is that Cosmos Hub will provide a shared security state. You'll get Atom's level of security from the underlying network or the other network you launch with interchain security. So the thing about Atom is that it's not going to be every chain that's accepted. This has to get through governance. You have to have the Atom validators running multiple like binaries, multiple nodes for these different networks. And the individual terms of each deal need to be discussed separately. So all that being said, is it's not going to be easy for the Cosmos Hub to just add, let's say, 5 chains a quarter. Like, it's just not going to happen. With that said, the Cosmos Hub will be more of a candidate to get very, very high value, high reputation projects to submit a bid and say, hey, we really want Atom security, and they have to really prove that they are worth it, pass through governance. And then, like, I don't know how much everybody knows, it's kind of a pain to get the Atom validator set to do anything these days because it's just so diverse. It's so large. These exchanges run some of the biggest validators, and they are not the best, honestly, at like being up to date and moving really fast. So yeah, so in that sense, Saga is just way more. It's built to allow smaller projects, fast-moving projects, and just more of a permissionless ability to launch your own block space. Where I foresee adding a bunch of chains on Cosmos Hub will not be easy. Any comments, Rebecca?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Joe. So the Cosmos Hub is really meant for those blue chip projects that are looking to get that high level of security, but nevertheless be a subsidiary chain on the hub. So our perspective is we want developers, teams in general, even at the layer ones, to have access to this block space through shared security in the easiest way possible. So that does mean that our validators don't get to vote, for instance, on whether a chain is going to be accepted onto Saga as what we call a chainlet. That's what we call a dedicated chain. The validators are going to provide security for those chainlets based on the capacity that is needed for those chainlets, and that's where a lot of our orchestration automation will come into play. But there is no approval process. There's no bidding process either. We don't run an auction for our developers to get block space. If you would like to pay for block space, you absolutely can, and then have that block space provided to you. Everybody does start off with a free trial. So if you're just pushing things into a chainlet and there's really no traffic happening on it, you're really just developing, experimenting for the time being, then that is free to you. So it's a very different way of thinking about shared security in terms of business purposes. And because we think of different business purposes and different target markets than the hub, the technology also ends up looking a little different. At the core, it'll probably be quite similar, that you have this set of mainnet validators. They provide security to all of the subsidiary chains, and that allows for these chains to get their own block space without having to go through the validator recruitment process. Actually, the security is completely abstracted away from them. However, because we're going for accessibility, and the hub is, as has always been the case, they're focused more on the key security aspect of it. The platforms will end up looking quite different.
Yeah, just as a final comment, I also think the Cosmos Hub is leaning more towards having its sub chains look very similar to itself, or at least just has the bones of a very similar chain, where ours will be able to do that, but really what we're focusing on is being able to just launch virtual machines, just your own Evmos, your own Juno, your own. I mean, when I say Evmos, I just mean the EVM, and Juno, just COSM, WASM, smart contracting. So it's more of just overall, we're just trying to lower that barrier of entry and to make it as easy as possible. So you don't need to know how to have your own, how to build your own EVM. Like, you just use our EVM module we provide for you. So it's a little different in that sense as well. So I think we've probably hit that one pretty good. Why do you choose to focus on gaming applications? Okay, so this is a good question. We believe that there's multiple reasons where we can innovate on that front. And one of them is just to change like the user experiences of Web3 are notoriously not as good as the user experiences of Web 2. And that's because when you interact with this blockchain, like Ethereum, for example, you have to interact with the blockchain, and it's extremely expensive, time consuming, etc. Where with our model, you could actually try to do like a freemium model of blockchain gaming, where you don't have to be interacting with the blockchain. You could do a subscription based, and there's all these different models where you can innovate on using mostly due to the fact that we're separating the front and back end. So on the back end, as long as you are paying your Saga coins for the block space, the front end can be monetized however you want. And then the other reason is we believe that overall gaming applications are going to be low value, high frequency transactions. So in that sense, we're just trying to take advantage of what we are specialized in, and that is trying to commoditize block space or to drive the cost of secure block space as low as possible. So considering gaming is going to be a high quantity, low value economics, then it's perfect for us, for a first candidate for us to move into. After that, you could think of maybe like an order book in DeFi. Like order books have not succeeded in crypto because of the high amount of block space and transactions required versus AMMs. So gaming was just a natural first choice, but there's other things that all have that same category of high frequency, low average value that a cheap block space will attract. I don't know if you have any more comments, Rebecca, or I can keep moving on.
Yeah, no, I think you summarized that one really well. I think for gaming, it's just, it really constrains the experience if you're looking at a slow, expensive game. So our goal is to allow game developers to build great games, which is what they do at the end of the day, and what really engages people to play these games. It's not just the opportunity to mint NFTs or trade NFTs. It is to actually play a great game. And for that, you need performance on the chain. You need to keep the gas fees low, if not zero. And the way that we've architected our system is really to optimize for that.
I guess one final comment. It's also beneficial that necessary that we have IBC as part of the tech stack, because the economic value generated within these sub games needs to be able to flow between one another and can't just be siloed and locked into one single game or one single ecosystem. And then there's also the scalability benefits of, let's say, something like World of Warcraft. I don't know if anyone's played that, but there's multiple different worlds and multiple different servers that people are playing on. Each server could have its own blockchain, and then these blockchains there could be a decentralized exchange aggregator, if you want to call it, like aggregating the prices of swords between all the 6 different worlds. So just utilizing IBC, you get some really cool benefits that also help the gaming. So how will you interact with wallets? What problems does your developer app solve? Okay, so those are definitely different. Interacting with wallets is definitely one of the key user experience hurdles that we're trying to figure our way through and really try to innovate on. It's really hard to say how we're kind of evolving to this world with a lot of different blockchains, and this has some kind of negative connotations. But how do you build like the Google of blockchains? Like how can you quickly find and interact with the blockchain that you desire without all this clutter and inefficiencies on the way there? That's part of our challenge, and I think that's a challenge for the whole industry moving forward, if I'm going to be honest. But Cosmos and Saga are just going to be some of the first ones to really hit it head on and say, okay, how do we do this? How do we innovate? How do we make the user experience better? What problems does your developer app solve? So I'd say there's like users and developers. For developers, they get a dedicated block space that which has all sorts of benefits. They get predictable pricing on their block space for their customers. And for users, it drives the cost of their transactions in the block space down, which is beneficial for everyone. And for the users as well, it's nice to have predictable gas fees, just so you know what you're getting into. Okay, next one. When can I invest in you? That's a good question. We will have a token. This has been announced before, so nothing new. And when that is live on mainnet, you will be able to invest in us. When that is, we'll see. And I think there's some benefits in being a Cosmos supporter. So you can inadvertently invest in us by investing in the Cosmos future. Hint, hint, whatever. Hello, team. What is Saga's mission and vision? Okay, so I think we kind of covered that. How to join pre-sale or validator group. Okay, so there is no pre-sale, and the validator group, we're getting a lot of questions on that front. We are partnered with a couple key top-level validators to build out our infrastructure. And then as far as filling out the rest of the validator set, everyone will be informed at the same time as everyone else. It'll be publicly announced. So no alpha there, sorry. Okay, I'll go one more, then I'll see if Rebecca has any comments. But can a different VM module be integrated into Saga infrastructure? Yeah, so that is definitely key to our vision. Is we aren't trying to say which virtual machine is going to be the winner. That is not part of our thesis, really. We have you could say a slight preference, or at least an idea that the EVM has a massive network effect right now, and I think that's pretty non-debatable. So we're definitely starting with the EVM, but we're not putting all of our chips in that basket. We're not convinced that it's going to be the virtual machine that everyone uses in the future. So yes, we will have CosmWasm, No Land, which is what Jaquan is building as a possible next candidate. I mean, who knows? Like, there could be totally new virtual machines invented that Saga in the future could incorporate. Will there be an important criteria number than delegations in the selection of the validator? That's a good question. There's definitely some considerations around how we can have incentivization to drive the cost of block space lower, and to possibly give some sort of advantage to the providers that can drive that cost as low as possible while still keeping their uptime and making sure they are doing what they say they were going to do. So that's just a little bit of alpha there. We'll see. TBD. Okay, I kind of ran through those fast, but yeah, that was the whole list that I saw. If anybody, we could probably start public questions now. Anybody in the chat that wants to come up here and ask a question. Any comments, Rebecca?
No, Joe, I thought that was great. So it's a lot of information to take in, and I mean, we did give you some tidbits today that are not necessarily public yet, or that we haven't really emphasized in our communications, but a lot of the info is also in our light paper, which is available on our website. But yeah, no, I thought that was a great overview, and thank you all for the wonderful questions. Don't be shy. If there's anything else you're wondering, please feel free to step up and ask.
If anyone wants to ask a question, you can use the raise your hand function, and we'll call on you and get you unmuted.
Cool. Yeah, that was a huge information dump. So I guess it's recorded, so everyone can listen to it again later. But yeah, we're just really excited to have everyone here. So,
yeah, we have Travis. I'm going to unmute him, and he can ask his question.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Travis, good. Great to have you here.
Hey, so I know it's pretty early with what you guys are doing. I'm actually really interested in the idea of gaming being what you're focusing on and stuff. And I guess the model kind of reminds me of what Avalanche is doing with subnets and stuff. And I guess the thing that comes to mind is with that is like DeFi kingdoms. They've got their own subnet running on there. But I guess I was just curious, even though it's so early, have you guys had any projects reach out very early that they might want to make a game or something already, or is that just kind of something that you're going to be focusing more on as far as onboarding goes as you go along? So
Yeah, I'll take the first part with the Avalanche, then I'll let Rebecca talk about more of the business development side. But yeah, one of the closest architectures to ours is Avalanche, so you did notice that correctly. One of the key differences is I'm not sure that Avalanche has a very good cross-chain communication protocol right now at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't stay as up to date on them. I think they're a promising project. But the other thing that is not in common is that the subnets they have a subset of the validator set. They do not have the full Avalanche validator set securing the subchain. And I'm pretty sure they have to do some recruiting as well to get that subset of validators. So in that sense, it's not really the same level of decentralization and trust guarantees that you can expect from Saga having the full validator set on every chain. Because it's something like, if you have like 10% of the validators, do you have 10% of the security of the chain? Like, I don't think so. I think you have maybe like 1 or 2%, just due to the nature of having a subset of the full set, and the inherent centralization issues and just instability that can cause.
Yeah, I know it's kind of early with Avalanche too. I thought it was interesting. It's interesting how many similarities there overall are between Avalanche and Cosmos, and yet, I guess you could almost argue that Avalanche has more traction right now, but Cosmos is still exploding too. So
yeah, no, I think you're onto something. The monolithic chain structure and having a single asset at the heart of everything I think it can really benefit in the short term. I just think long term, I guess it's just like a difference in opinion on how to build these crypto systems. Like, do you want there to be a single point of failure within the system? Where if you have like a monolithic blockchain, there will be. But in the Cosmos, like, I don't know if you saw, like, Juno network went down, but everything else was fine. Like Juno, you could still trade Juno on Osmosis. And anyway, I think it's a good point of view. I think a good point to make.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Travis, please.
Oh, no worries. No, I guess really more than anything, I was just curious about the games and stuff. But no, that's I kind of I see where Joe's coming from on that too. So
Yeah, I think with Avalanche, so in addition to all the differences that Joe is mentioning, one key thing I see just looking at the AVAX subnet docs is I can sort of tell what their product development process was like, because it's very similar to what my last crypto startup went through on our way to becoming more permissionless. So when crypto protocol starts to talk about things like compliance for the validator set, or where the validators are located, can you be selective about the validator set, et cetera, you can tell that they conceived of the product having talked to enterprise customers. And so AVAX subnets, while they can be used certainly in permissionless settings, and to be subnets or subsidiary chains for permissionless L1s, the way the product has been conceived of is as enterprise, which has limitations to it. I think for us, because we are starting from well, not quite scratch, because we're on top of Tendermint Core and Cosmos SDK, but we're building this protocol from ground up. We're able to capture the moment in the market where there are games entertainment apps, NFTs, and DeFi apps that are looking for this kind of technology. But we're also able to look at, okay, what are the problems in the product that we can actually solve for, and how can we solve for them in a way that remains eminently scalable and permissionless. So yeah, that was sort of the first thing that I noticed when I looked at the subnet architecture. The other thing I'll just sort of highlight, which Joe already hinted at, is that it's not the full set of validators for Avalanche subnets. And I think the reason for that is maybe some projects that they had spoken to in the process of product discovery felt, hey, if we have a validator in this jurisdiction, that's not okay from a legal perspective. So we have to be picky about our validators. And for us, it's okay, deploying a VM environment, we're going to standardize the deployment onto a chain for you, and all of that is abstracted away. So you don't need to think about security at all. And I think the way the math works out, I don't think the subnets are actually connected to the Avalanche mainnet. If they are, I mean, that's something that needs to be just handled very carefully. For us, it's the full validator set, because that way we ensure the security not just of the chainlets, but of the entire system. If you start to allow for smaller validator sets to break off, then it's easier to attack those validator sets and then attack the mainnet. So those are some additional differences. But on games, Travis, so for us, you can tell now that we're very keen to be a good partner in the ecosystem. So for L1s that are already trying to take games onto their chains, but they're out of block space, or just leads to terrible congestion, or it's just a bad gaming experience, they can easily get dedicated block space on Saga. So we're a horizontal scaling solution for these L1s that are already taking in gaming applications. In terms of organic growth for game developers on Saga, we are getting a lot of inbound interest, but we also recognize that there is still a gap between the gaming community that creates just really great games in Web 2 and crypto. And for that, we are going to welcome this coming Monday a new person. We'll announce it on Twitter. I don't know if I want to reveal it yet, but we'll announce it on Twitter, who has deep experience in working with game developers and has a lot of roots in the gaming developer community. And that should help with not just outreach, but also refining our platform for the purposes of being easy for these developers to use.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess that's an interesting point that you were making about as far as compliance and everything. I guess that didn't really come into my mind, but that I think we're still kind of in the early Wild West of crypto. Still, we're still trying to find our way into the mainstream and everything, and onboarding, traditional gaming developers and just regular developers and everything. Doing it in a compliant way, so we're not seen as the bad guys by all the boomers and everything. That's cool. So I was just curious. That's good to know, though. I'm looking forward to the announcement on Monday.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Travis.
Thank you, Travis, for the question. Joe, there were, I think, 2 additional questions that were asked in the AMA channel. I don't know if you want to come out and address them. They were added.
Yeah, let me
they
go.
were.
Let me. Okay, I'm pulling.
They came in after the call started, so I think they're new.
Okay, why did the name change from Saga? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Why did the name change from Saga to Saga? Like Rebecca said, it wasn't just dropping off the end uncreatively. It was mostly due to a I don't know what the term is. It's not intellectual property rights, but you could say someone that didn't like us using the name Sagan and was in my opinion, somewhat unreasonable about what their expectations were if we ended up using Sagan and how much they would participate back for that. So it became unmanageable to keep the name Sagan, even though we liked it, and ended up switching to Saga, which all of the team loves way more than Sagan. So, yeah. Any comments, Rebecca?
Yeah. Yeah, that is what happened. Yeah, so it was an intellectual property issue at the end of the day, and we felt it's not worth it to impede our progress, to have this issue just sort of hanging there. And we were also moving in this direction, so away from a more sort of generalized platform, which I mean we still are, but we in our go to market really wanted to focus specifically on gaming and entertainment, and felt okay, maybe we need a different name, something that's a little bigger, a little edgier, to capture that. So yeah, it ended up working out really well. As Joe mentioned, the whole team loves it, and it's been well received by the community, all of our partners and investors. So yeah, we're quite happy with the name change.
Yep. So we'll run through these last couple and then call it at about the hour mark. So is Saga aiming to be a launch pad in Cosmos or a sovereign blockchain? So Saga will be a sovereign blockchain, and it is in some senses going to be a launch pad for virtual machines. And people will be able to easily spin up and spin down their own virtual machine, EVM, Cosmos, whatever, and have a semi-sovereign block space. Like I say semi-sovereign because at the end of the day, these Saga coins will be validating and ensuring the consensus layer for these chains stays solid. So in that sense, the semi-sovereignty is great because then these small projects can't like rug. They can't rug on a consensus level. So I had a bad connection, didn't hear alpha, devnet, testnet dates. No dates right now. Everyone will be up to date at the same time, so you don't have to try to get any extra alpha sitting in here. Everyone will know. It'll be announced when and if there's the devnets and testnets and etc. and what kind of incentivization there will be. Will Saga think to be a multi-chain project? Yeah, I'd say day one, we're very firmly in the multi-chain camp, and just like that kind of comes with our thesis, but also a lot of us are Cosmos people to the bone, and Cosmos is all about the multi-chain vision. So, yeah, cool. That seems to be everything in there. I don't know if anybody else has any final comments. We got about a couple minutes left. I don't see anybody hands up, so cool. Well, I guess I'll just close out. Let anybody make any final closing statements. We really appreciate
If we have time,
and Daddy.
Yeah, if we have time, we have one more question from Shipmate.
Oh, cool. What's that?
He's raising his hand, so we'll invite him right now. Yep, he should be unmuted now.
Oh, perfect. Cool. Hey, what's up, Shipmate? I see the secret symbol in there. Are you a secret dude? Oh, you're still muted, man.
Oh, I'm still muted. I apologize about that.
There we go.
Oh, you're good. What up?
So I just had one quick question, and it's pertaining to, I guess, I've been here the whole time, and I've been trying to kind of wrap my head around the whole concept of Sagan. And I know that, like right now in the Cosmos ecosystem, we have the Avamos layer, which will be EVM and IBC enabled. Is that kind of like, would it be appropriate for me to kind of think of the Sagan network as doing a similar thing, but more focused on the gaming aspect?
Yeah. I think in the sense that Evmos is a EVM module running on like a Tendermint consensus layer. We are going to also be doing pretty much the same thing, but you can think of it as like you're running your own Evmos. And you don't have to fight for block space with the other Evmos smart contracts that are on the main network. And that might sound very offensive on the territory of Evmos as a project, and we understand how that appears. And that's why we designed our tokenomics to allow partnerships with Evmos, where we can say, hey, we see your network's doing incredibly well, but you're just a single Tendermint chain. If you want, you can partner with us, economically shard through us, and have additional block space that uses Evmos as the gas and is fully an Evmos-centered blockchain. So in that sense, we can partner with not only the Evmos team themselves, but builders on Evmos. So it really opens up the spectrum for partnerships that we can partake in. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that actually did answer my question. And so, with respect to, so is it appropriate then to say the Saga network is a layer 1, and it is both EVM and IBC, and then other chains will be able to come in and launch utilizing the Sagan protocol, but be their own chain, whereas in the Evmos layer, most will be dApps that are built upon the Evmos layer. Is that okay to say that?
Say like 90% of that was right. I think the only thing that I would just throw a slight little correction to is that the Saga chain itself will not be Evmos like. I'm assuming it may not be just like running it won't just be a clone of EVM. It'll actually be more like a clone of Cosmos Hub, where it's just really its sole purpose is providing security to these subchains. But the subchains underneath are going to be initially pretty much all Evmoses. So in that sense, it's probably a little bit more like the Cosmos Hub, maybe, like the actual Saga network itself. But these subchains will behave more like Evmoses or Junos.
Okay, I think that answers my question. So Saga will basically be its own hub, similar to the Cosmos Hub, or the Juno Hub is the smart contract hub with the Cosmwasm, and these different hubs within the Cosmos. Okay, that answered my question. Thank you very much for the explanation.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate staying around and asking questions. Cool. Well, I think this is really successful, guys. I appreciate it. Medemski and team are doing a great job with the Discord. We appreciate how beautiful it looked after the upgrade and what you guys are doing. So, and we appreciate the community for being here with us. So, any closing comments, Rebecca?
No, I mean, this has been a fabulous time, and thank you to all of you for the really thoughtful questions. Thank you to Travis and to Shipmate for stepping forward and asking a few questions. We know it's not easy in a forum like this, but really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to sharing more news with you as we keep building. We'll have a regular stream of information. I think you've already sensed that already, because we just love to keep our community apprised of everything that's happening, and we love chatting with you guys and spending time with you. So thank you for coming to our inaugural Discord community call. We'll have many more of these. Thank you to Medemski, Daddy, the entire Avalon team for being great mods on this Discord and on our Telegram as well. It's been amazing working with you guys. Thanks to Joe for moderating this, being a champ. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all real soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to be closing this down now, but I appreciate everyone staying here and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.